Good day, and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo, and welcome to day 3 of A Year of Change. Today we're going to talk a little bit about why we're doing this over a long term, and why this is going to be a little bit different than previous diets that you may have tried in the past, or most likely have tried in the past as well. I suppose the best way to start out with is actually using the word diet. Generally, when people think of weight loss, that's the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, I need to go on a diet. There are a number of different problems with that, though. And inherently, the first one is when you say you're going to go on a diet, that sort of sets up an expectation that at some point, whether you are successful or not, you're going to go off the diet. So it sort of sets up that this is going to be a temporary thing. The problem with that, of course, as we all know, is that even if you go all the way through it and you lose the weight that you're looking for, then inevitably you go back to your old eating habits. And it's those eating habits that have caused us to get to where we are. So, you might do great for those 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, but when you go back to it, inevitably you start gaining that weight back. And in most cases, we end up gaining more, which sort of leads to that yo-yo effect where, you lose the weight, you put it all back on, you get depressed, you decide enough is enough, you go on another diet, usually a different one because we say, oh, that first one obviously didn't work. We go on another one and then, we lose the weight, we feel better, we go off the diet, we gain it back. So, that effect for the most part is because we aren't changing anything. We're just doing a temporary fix and saying we're cutting off the amount that we're eating healthier, things like that, which is good. But it's because we can't stick to it. And that's why we end up gaining all the weight back. And there are a number of different theories that people have as to why people don't stick with it. Part of it is because for a lot of us, there's a psychological link, like an emotional link between us and food. For some of you, it might be that, you eat when you're depressed. Or, if you've had a stressful day, things like that. It brings comfort. Some of you that, are just eat because you're bored. And I'm lumped in with both of those categories, that all food is comfort food to us. And because we've, throughout the years, we've made that link, then it's really difficult to break that. So when you go on a diet, and whether it's a matter of just reducing your calorie count or changing the foods that you're eating, you don't have that link anymore. So say that you're used to, 2,000 calories a day, and you cut that way down to 1,200. Well, you're going to get hungry and cranky, and, that link is gone. And that's when you're going to start craving, like cookies and candy and fried foods and all the stuff that you're used to that makes you feel better. And, part of it is a matter of just saying, okay, well, enough is enough. I'll just deal without it. But willpower is tough to build up. And so inevitably people slip up. On the other side of that, if you're still sort of, if you're one of those people that you still eat fairly healthy, but you want to just cut the calories down, you're still in that same boat. So in order to compensate, your body's craving sugar and caffeine and things like that to keep your energy levels up because it's so used to having an overabundance of energy, of food. So, again, that's when people slip up. And most times when someone slips up for one, like during the day, they think, oh, I'm off my diet, and then they just go back to it and they don't bother returning. So part of the reason why I wanted to make this a little bit different is that this isn't a diet that you're going to be going on. There's not going to be any point where we're saying, okay, you are not allowed to have this type of food anymore because it's ridiculous. It's fine to have, like, any type of food is fine. There are some that you look at and you go, I know it's bad for me, but there's never going to come a point when you're like, all right, you can never have a Twinkie because it's ridiculous. You should be able to have a Twinkie once in a while. Just the problem that we have is that we're either eating, that's all we're eating, or else, in my case, it's, I can have one box of Twinkies, it should be fine. So I want to get us to a point where where we'll have those small changes that will change how we view food in general so that we won't run into that situation where you don't have to say, I can't eat that because, it's not on my diet. mean, there's not many things, worse than you're sitting in an office and everyone's handing cake around and you go, no, I can't really have that. Because, you feel bad because you think, it wouldn't hurt to have a small piece of cake. And they feel bad because they think that you're just being an asshole. So, if we can get to a point where, we look at food differently, I think it's going to help. And we can't really do that by going on a diet because you're just going to be constantly thinking, I can't have this, I can't have that, and I want this and I want that. So, as I said, there's not going to be a point when we're cutting out one type of food altogether where you're never going to be allowed to eat it again. Inevitably, you're going to get to that point yourself where, those little changes in your diet are going to happen, but it's going to be because you've decided to do that on your own. Because you're going to, for some of you that are, that don't overeat, but you eat a lot of junk food, you're going to get to a point when, yes, you're still going to have that craving, but you're not going to want to do it just because you are feeling better, or you are going to be able to have some junk food, but you're not going to eat as much. For others of you, myself included, where, you still eat fairly healthy, it's just the quantity of it, then when you get, a selection between that piece of office cake or, 5 bananas, they have the same amount of calories in it, so you're probably going to go for the 5 bananas because it's more food. But at least that way it's better for you. So these changes are going to take place mostly on your own, just because you're going to, want to keep up, the progress that you're doing. You aren't going to want to slide back. You are going to slide back every once in a while. 365 days is a long time to, say, I'm going to start on this path and never make any mistakes. You're going to, but that's okay. You're going to have people here that you can talk to. There's going to be a good support group in the community that you're going to be able to come back and say, hey, yesterday I went out with friends and just wrecked everything I've done for this entire week. That's okay. Don't give up on it. Don't say, fine, well, I'm off, it didn't work. You don't even have to start over. Just say, okay, you know what? I had a bad day. I had a day where I went over my goal. I didn't follow anything at all. It was your birthday or whatever. Fine. Then just the next day, start up again and just pick up right where you left off before, the slip up. Because they are going to happen. If it was easy, then, none of us would look like this. We would all look great. And it would, be one of those things where you're like, oh, gee, I put on an extra 4 pounds. I better get rid of it. And I think I just spit on my camera or my microphone. So anyway, I guess the eating habits are going to be different for everybody. Aside from the comfort food aspect of it, there are going to be some of you that are closet eaters, that, you won't eat when you're out in public or around other people, but when you get home, you binge to a point where you're uncomfortably full all the time. And if you've gotten to that point where, I don't eat when I'm outside, but when I come home, I just constantly am packing food in, then, we're going to be able to try to change that as well. Because, the root of that is essentially that it's embarrassing. Because if you're eating something, you assume people are staring at you going, oh my God, they're just shoveling food in. So, there's going to be a bunch of different ways that, people react to food. Which might be something that, if you're comfortable with, to put in the comments and just say, here's where my issue with food is. And that way you can sort of share the different things with other people. With mine, it's just a matter of, the quantity of food that I take in. I do eat a lot of, fairly healthy food. I don't often have like cookies and cakes and stuff. Salt is a big one for me. If someone said, you can have a cake or a bag of chips, I'm going to go for the bag of chips almost every single time. So I know where my fault lies. And that's, the issue that I have with it is, salty foods, I would sort of say greasy foods really, but not like a lot of deep fried stuff, things like pizza and garlic fingers and things like that. But the majority of the stuff that I have is, it's just the amount that I'm eating. I have no problem with, oatmeal and tofu and stuff like that, but, I'll just eat so much of it that it feels like that Thanksgiving dinner full that you feel, after, what for most people is normally a once a year thing. That's my issue, is that I'll do that for every meal. And that's where my problem is. It's not necessarily what I'm eating, although that's probably part of it, because, like everybody, I do have junk food. But it's just quantity over quality, I guess, is what it is. So, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, share it in the comments. Let us know where your issue with food is. Whether it's overeating, or whether it's junk food, or whether it's, salty foods, or whether it's deep fried stuff, or whether it's, you're one of those people that just simply doesn't have time to, have that balanced meal. For a lot of you that have kids, it's going to be, an issue of it's whatever the kids don't eat, that's what I have time for. So, a lot of that, where you don't have the time, it's a lot easier to grab those sort of, unhealthy things. And maybe that's what your issue is. But whatever it is, I mean, share in the comments below. It'll give us something that, people can talk back and forth with. And you'll see, even if you're not putting a comment down, if you're going through them and reading them, you're going to see that you're not alone. Other people are going to have the same issue, whether it's with, the type of food, or the amount of food, or just the time that you're eating, or, closet eating, stuff like that. Whatever the issue is, you're going to see there are other people that have that same issue. So, you aren't alone in this. You're going to have a good community and, good support group of people that are going to be able to understand and sort of help walk you through this. So, again, don't look at this as a diet, because it's not going to be a temporary thing. It's more of, a way to change over the next year, so that at the end of that year, you won't need to ever go on a diet. Your outlook on food is going to be so different that we aren't going to see it as, a top priority anymore. That's the goal, anyway. So, and I do think that by making little tiny changes week to week, that it's attainable. I mean, you always hear, they'll say there's 5 steps to losing weight. To eat right, get plenty of exercise, drink fluids, don't invade Russia in winter, and with great power comes great responsibility. I don't know what the other 2 are, but it's usually there's 2 or 3 different steps that people will take, or else you'll say, there's one weird trick for belly fat. You see it on the internet all the time, like all these different ads, or a miracle pill, or this is the brand new thing that's going to make losing weight easy. The last thing that made losing weight easy was, if you remember, Olestra chips, which essentially people thought, oh, this is great. They taste just like regular chips. Yeah, but it caused, horrible, horrible problems down the road, literally and figuratively. So there's not going to be anything that you're going to be able to look at and say, this is going to be an easy thing to do. Even like the gastric bypass surgery that people get, there's a myriad of problems that come along with it. And I mean, not to condemn it. I'm sure it gets to a point where that's something that's people have to do. But even then, even when they get that, they still have to change their diet. They have to change their lifestyle. And it's not easy, but I guess it's still not a quick fix. There's nothing that you're going to be able to do that you're going to say, okay, I'm going to change everything in my life, change the way that I've been looking at food for years, lose the weight I need to, and feel great. I mean, you can do that, but it's going to take a long time. And that's why I want to spread this out over a year. I mean, we could do it in 6 months. You could do it in 3 months. But I honestly think if we're going to stick to it, then we need to make it as, the steps as small as possible. A month down the road, it's never going to get to a point when you're going to be looking at the next change, for the next week's change, and think, this is going to be rough. It's going to be, because I'm sure some of you are going, what's coming next week? But it's always going to be something that you're going to think, okay, yeah, no, that's not too bad. I can probably do that. For instance, this week, we're pretty much just tracking things. Next week, the only goal that we really have, because you're going to be used to tracking food, is to not go over what your goal is. And for a lot of you, you're probably close to it now. Some of you might even be under it now anyway, because the way that this is set up, when you go into your FitnessPal profile, no one's got a goal that is going to be, such a sharp, drastic reduction in what they're eating that it's going to cause problems. Now, having said that, I'm sure there are, a couple of you out there that it is a big one, but that's probably because you're at a stage right now that, maybe you're constantly gaining right now. Like if you're eating 5,000 or 6,000 calories a day or more, your body's going to constantly be gaining. So if you're looking at, going from a gaining perspective to a losing perspective, it is going to be, a fairly severe cut. However, it's enough that, you might get, the munchies every now and then, but you're never going to get to a point when you're just, I'm so hungry, I need to have something. Because we're doing this so slowly that, it's designed not to give your system that big shock, because if it does, you're just going to fall off the wagon again. So, anyway, going back to the changes, if you, week by week when we do these little changes, they're going to be things that are going to be fairly easy to implement, and, ones that you're going to feel comfortable doing. Now, some of them, like I said, some of them you're going to be doing the changes on your own as we go, which is fine. You don't, if you're finding, down the road that you started your exercise early just because you feel better and you sort of want to get into it, by all means, do that. This is designed to, be a very slow, steady, permanent process. But if you want to get to a point when, you think, I feel better, I can do more, and, go from there, then certainly do it, because every little bit's going to help. But I think that's pretty much it for this video for today. Just sort of wanted to reassure you it's not going to be, effortless, but it's not going to be difficult to do these changes. And at the end of it, we're going to look at food differently in total. It's not going to be, all right, I've gone on a year-long diet, now I can go back to where I am. It's going to be, I've done this for a year, I want to stay on this course. And it's going to be fairly easy to stay on that course, because we aren't going to have those cravings for, a bucket of ice cream. And we aren't going to say, oh, I'm going to have, 2 orders of fries. We're going to be able to eat like normal human beings. We're going to look better. We're going to feel better emotionally and physically, and in general, make a change that's going to improve our lives over the long haul. So, but that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, poke the like button for me. It'll help a great deal. And in the meantime, stay warm and fuzzy, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.